great. Actually, very good. Um, yeah, so we do have quite a lot of important things to discuss today. So let's wait for a few minutes for more people to join. Let's even ping them on the community channel.
Perfect. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay?
yeah, I can. Okay, so let's start with a quick overview of what we are going to talk about today. And I did mention that it's going to be important, and I'll tell you exactly why. So we are on the verge of launching uh, quite a few applications. And most of these applications do require some decisions to be made by the community and the DAO. And we're going to discuss them one by one. Um, there are going to be a couple of relatively simple ones and one very, very complicated. Um, and this is kind of going to take, I think, the largest part of the hour. We'll have a few additional interesting updates, and we are going to answer a lot of questions that were asked during the week by the community. So this is the quick kind of overview of what's ahead of us. Um, yeah, seems to be back. Are you back? No, not yet. Okay. Um, so let's get started. So first of all, the application that is ready and is about to be launched as quickly as possible is the asset minter. And the only decision that we need to make for the asset minter is what will be the cost of minting an asset. And just to remind you that these amounts go to the DAO, so all the proceedings go to the DAO. But we do need to decide on the exact amount. So I don't know, it can be 20 beam or 50 beam, something like that, probably. And we will do, I don't think we are going to do a kind of full vote on that. I think we're going to do a discussion in the community, probably in the forum, and do a quick poll and then release it because I just don't want to wait for 2 weeks until the vote results are in to launch it. I do want to launch it quickly since it's ready and it's waiting for this one number to just be specified. Okay, so this is the first one. The second one is actually Nephrite. So as you know, Nephrite team has started to kind of getting ready for the release. And one of the things that needs to be determined before that can happen is the allocation of the BeamX for the yield, basically the kind of whenever you are locking your Nephrite in the stability pool, you get to farm BeamX tokens. So there is clear documentation about all of the amounts, and this is going to be a formal vote on the voting platform because it's an allocation of the BeamX from the DAO, so it needs to be properly voted on before it can happen. So this is something that we will probably start as quickly as possible, like maybe next week. We will discuss it briefly and then we will put it to the vote. And then once this is decided, it will remove the blockers from the Nephrite launch, which we have been all waiting for. And that's going to be awesome. So right now there is I think I saw some activity on the DAppNet, some upgrades. So they're probably finalizing this before the release. That there was no official announcement about the readiness of that version, but there is activity, which is good. And I think that once the version is updated to the kind of more finalized one, it will be announced separately on Twitter, and we will obviously retweet it. Okay. So the third one is actually a big deal, and it's about DEX. Now, the reason it's a big deal is because, as you know, the DEX have been in development for a while. It's been recently tested on DAppNet by a group of people from the community and obviously the Beam team, and it's looking, really good, and it's getting ready to be launched on mainnet. But what it also means is that there is another event associated with the DEX launch, which we have also been waiting for a long time, and that is BeamX will finally get a prize. Okay. Oh, I see that Gus has rejoined from his personal account. Can and I'm not a host, so you'll need to make me a host or something, so I can, or maybe you can allow yourself to speak as well. So BeamX is going to have a price because there will be a pool of Beam to BeamX, and this is exactly the important point of what will that price be, right? There are several ways we can approach this. So first way is to just agree on some number, agree on some price for BeamX, and then initialize the pool with the liquidity that represents that price. Now there are several parameters here. One is obviously the price, the ratio, and also like how much liquidity initially will be in the pool, the depth of the pool, right? So this is kind of one way to do this. Another way to do it is something that is called price discovery. So basically, there will be a separate procedure during which there will be a period of time, let's say 2 weeks, that we will determine. And during that time, people will be able to lock either Beam or BeamX separately, like not necessarily in pairs, like in a regular pool. And then at the end of this period, the price will be determined by the actual ratio of locked Beam and BeamX in the pool. There are a few projects that did that in the past, so it's not something that we have invented in any way. And what it basically does is it says, listen, instead of just setting the price to some number initially and then providing some liquidity to back it up, we propose that this price is determined by the community of holders of both Beam and BeamX. And then, there are kind of several interesting considerations here. So first of all, once this price is determined, right, like people who have contributed that liquidity need to be rewarded, right? So in any case, like people who contribute liquidity to the pool need to be rewarded, but especially if they are also participating in this price discovery kind of process. So what can be done in this case is a dedicated kind of yield or farming program that allows you to lock the LP tokens that you get. By the way, the LP tokens that you get, they are determined also, the amount of LP tokens is determined for the final price. So let me give you an example. Let's say I have 1,000 Beam and I lock it in the pool. So after the price discovery is over, let's say that the price is determined, just for the simplicity's sake, as like 1-to-1. One Beam equals one BeamX, right? So since I have locked 1,000 Beam, what I get in return is actually 500 Beam and 500 BeamX, right? Or LP tokens representing that amount. So obviously, if the price is set differently, then the ratio of Beam to BeamX that I get is also different. And the same goes for people who only lock BeamX. So you're kind of selling or buying BeamX depending on which positions you take as a result of this process. And you get a share of like your contribution to the pool. And then you can lock this LP token and get some additional yield. So once again, there are a lot of different possibilities here, both in terms of the locking period, right? So for how long these tokens can be locked. I don't know, like 6 months, 1 year. Yes. Yeah, you're back? Gus? Okay. And The second parameter is how much is the yield in terms of like the BeamX that you get for locking a certain amount. For example, if you have locked, I don't know, okay.
Hello.
And the second parameter. Okay, now I can hear myself twice. Yeah, you will have probably to mute one of them. Okay, so back to the point. When you lock your LP tokens, you can get, like, for example, I don't know, 20% yield for the first, I don't know, 100,000 locked, and then like I don't know, 15% for the next 400,000, something like that. And then we can determine exactly the proportion of how much we want like people to lock and what yield it gets us. Okay. So just to recap this price discovery approach, instead of just launching the pool with Beam and BeamX, we do a separate program where people can lock either Beam or BeamX, or obviously both, and we run it for a fixed period of time, after which we determine the price based on the amounts locked in those pools. And people who locked these assets get LP tokens as if the price was, the one that was determined at the end, right? So like if you only locked Beam, you will get some BeamX in return and vice versa. After that, these LP tokens can be then locked into a farming kind of process, which will give you more BeamX over the next, I don't know, 6 months or a year, depending on the period that you decide. And also in proportion to whether you are the first to lock or the second to lock, or like for the amounts that we specify. Now, why is this? So first of all, like if you have any questions or it's not clear what I said, just please ask in any way possible. But I will try to explain why it sounds a little bit complicated and why it is important. So this is the kind of first and probably the only chance like of determining a price of a completely new asset that did not have any price before. And we can calculate, like we do know all of the parameters of the asset, like in terms of like how much Beam is worth, how many assets are there, like in different hands, like whether it's the community or the investors. We know all of these parameters. And also we don't want this price to be neither too high or too low, because if it's too high, then people will be, motivated to liquidate it quickly and then drive it down. If it will be set too low, then once again, it will be, determine the price of BeamX going forward. And we do want it to, to be something that we can maintain either through market making or through the kind of, community engagement for as long a period of time as we can, because eventually whoever is a BeamX holder today, or if somebody is like, planning to buy BeamX, they want to have a relatively stable price for like a longer period of time. And obviously those tokens also participate in the DAO decision making and the DAO profits. So it all should be somehow reflected in the price. So it's quite a lot of parameters here and variables that makes it complicated to calculate. And I do want to, kind of discuss it with all of you. I do want everyone to be kind of aware of this decision, because after all, the BeamX is the main token of the Beam DeFi and the BeamX DAO, and it does have an important role to play in the future development of the DeFi and Beam project in general. So it's an important decision that we want to make right. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of ideas. So we will obviously publish everything I said right now. We'll publish it in the form of an article, probably on the forum. And it's not, it's going to be a discussion. But I do want you to be aware of the fact that we need to do this before we can launch the DEX properly. And if you have opinions on the subjects or questions or ideas, you are very, very welcome to speak up and to contribute your opinions about this. questions for now? Gus, you're not in a speakable situation? Guess not. Okay. So moving on.
I'm not sure that you can hear me.
I can.
Or there's a big delay, I think.
I can hear you. Okay, but you probably can't hear me, or is there is a big delay? Okay, so I will get back to that probably towards the end of the hour, but let's just move forward with the rest of the updates for now. So first of all, Web Wallet is, as you know, there was like a major change in the manifest, and by Google, like in the extension kind of mechanism. So we had to redesign the Web Wallet, and now it works completely differently. But we are very close to launching the updated version. So I think for now there are like some cosmetic fixes, and once again the Web Wallet will be released very soon. I hope next week. Um, the Web Wallet is important because it also allows to get access to decentralized applications through the web and not just through the desktop wallet. The desktop wallet in its turn is also like needs to be updated because as we have mentioned several times, the hardware wallet support is already tested and it's good to go. And now what's holding us back is some cosmetic fixes in some things that have changed in the UI as a result of the hardware wallet integration. And I hope it's going to be also ready very soon. Now, one thing about kind of the Beam addresses, and I still do see a lot of questions about that. I'm not sure I would like to talk about it today because it's kind of a separate topic that is worth covering in a separate space. So next time we will probably address kind of this entire concept of the hardware wallet, what exactly it does, how it should be used, even though there are tutorials and people already are trying it out, but or at least on .NET. But I do think that it's worth kind of talking about separately. The Blockchain Explorer. The Blockchain Explorer is also getting updated, and it's long overdue. So what's happening there is, first of all, it's being rewritten to a different technology stack. The old version was using one UI framework called Angular. The new one is using React. But this is the less important one. The fact that the more important is that it will also include a much more detailed information about the contracts and about the transactions. So the backend of the Explorer is already is ready and is giving this information in this kind of structured form. And now we just need to update the UI to represent it properly. So you will be able to see which contracts were accessed, what are the parameters of those contracts, for example, total value locked, like which transactions were sent to which contracts, which other contracts were called. So all of this information is obviously present on the blockchain. And as a result, it also should be fairly represented in the Blockchain Explorer. So there are quite a lot of work there, and it's moving forward. Now, the dApp Store. The dApp Store, it's the same, it's working, but I would like to have a kind of better access to it through the web, right? So it will allow us to onboard users more quickly if you can just, go to some website, even before you have downloaded the desktop wallet, and just get the web wallet version fairly easily. Just install the extension, and then basically get some beams from the faucet and hit the ground running. We have everything we need there, right? In terms of the infrastructure, it's just more about organization, about making the links more kind of prominent on the website. So it's also the process that needs to be done. Now, speaking about accessibility, there is another project that's been going on for a while. It started way back as a demo, and now we have invested some effort to make it production ready. And it's a MetaMask integration. It's a completely separate topic, and I do also want your advice on that because there are many different ways we can take. So let me kind of explain what I mean. As you know, in MetaMask, you can add other blockchains, right? So basically, these blockchains, what they need to do is to implement this API that MetaMask expects, and it's the API which is very similar to the MetaMask native blockchain, which is Ethereum. And as you know, on Beam, we can emulate all of the Ethereum kind of methods and create the same or very similar behavior as you have in Ethereum. So people who have MetaMask can just click on a link, add another network, which will be Beam, and then use MetaMask to access Beam blockchain. Now, it's not going to be the same level of access as people who are running the native Beam wallet. It's not going to be as private, obviously, and it's not going to be as feature-rich. But it will give people an easier access to Beam, which is something that we definitely can agree we all want. And now the question is, what kind of applications are best suited to be the first ones implemented in this space? Because there are two problems here. The first problem is that fees need to be subsidized. So when somebody opens a MetaMask and then, let's say, creates a transaction to the Beam network, the MetaMask have absolutely no way of paying fees, right? They're just sending the data basically to the backend, and then the backend using the wallet that's running on the backend to convert this transaction into a native Beam transaction. But since in Beam, we do have this option of subsidizing fees through the contract. So I can call a contract, for example, that's how our decentralized faucet works. By the way, it's something that's not available, let's say, on Ethereum. You cannot create a decentralized faucet on Ethereum, but on Beam you can. And then the contract of the faucet subsidizes your fees. So we can do the same thing, and using the fact that fees are really kind of minimal, we can create this kind of enjoyable onboarding experience for MetaMask users, and I do believe it can create engagement. Now the question is which applications we should launch this way. It's not going to be DEX, it's not going to be something major, but it can be something kind of relatively interesting. Maybe some, I don't know, variations on NFTs, maybe not the big gallery, but some smaller applications that use NFTs. Something that will make it fun to start using Beam through MetaMask, and then encourage people to download the full-featured wallet and become Beam users, full-grown Beam users. So this is also something that we'll write about, and we would like your opinions on, because there are a lot of options, as I mentioned, and we need to take a decision here. Okay, so let's address some questions that were asked recently in the community and also before. So first of all, the voting in the wallet will be used as it was designed. Absolutely, yes. Exactly, like the BeamX DAO voting as it was designed will be used for all of the decisions that I have described today regarding the allocations of BeamX from the DAO for the yield programs for both the DEX and also the Nephrite applications. Okay, let me see. I have another list of questions here, and obviously you can ask more. 1 second. Let me see if I can allow you to speak. Well, how do I do that? No idea.
I think I can speak.
Oh, that's great. That's even better. I was looking for some button to click.
No, I think someone made me a speaker before. Just wanted for you to,
to stop talking.
Be prepared.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So then, thank you for the opportunity. Just before I ask you a question, I just want to say I have followed the Beam ever since the beginning. So I love the project, and I'm really impressed with how much work you guys are doing on delivery. It's really fantastic. Uh, for me, I one thing it might be controversial, especially now when BeamX has been out so long. Is like one thing I'm really worried about is all the projects coming out with like they have like this main coin, then they have this DAO coin, and then maybe they later add another coin and another coin. But this is something I'm really worried about because I mean even Beam still is kind of low cap, so adding additional coins might kind of I don't know what do you call it. English is not my native language. Is and
Yeah, I
how
understand. I
so?
understand your point.
You understand my worry? Yeah, you understand my
Yeah.
point. Not the evaluate, but kind of yeah, make the focus away from the main coin, basically.
So first of all, you're absolutely correct. It's a problem. Like it's a situation where you basically have two coins in the project. So there is Beam, obviously, and Beam was like out there for a while, and it has a price. It's traded on exchanges. And then suddenly you have BeamX, and in certain situations you do have this trade-off of like, okay, if you want to, support some price, which price do you support, right? Do you support the price of Beam or BeamX? So yeah, it's definitely a trade-off. However, I will try to explain the original idea, like why we launched BeamX, and what, in my opinion, is the difference between Beam and BeamX. So Beam is a kind of is a real coin, right? Means of exchange. So basically, it's mined. It's mined like it should be from zero, and each block there are like more being minted using a very specific and well-defined emission schedule. And you use Beam to buy stuff. You use Beam to trade. You use Beam to kind of do all the activities that you would expect from any coin to support. BeamX is something else. BeamX, first of all, you have a exactly like limited amount, well known in advance, and it is more like I would say I don't know, not shares, but like it's like your it's a governance token, right? So you needed to participate in the decision making on the protocol. Theoretically, we maybe could have used Beam for that, but I don't know. I don't feel like you should vote with your money, right? You should vote with something else, which should have monetary value. But I think it can be different, and we see this in a lot of different protocols. Most actually DeFi protocols have two tokens. The difference with Beam is that Beam is a layer one blockchain. So usually what happens is that there is a layer one blockchain, and then on top of it, there are kind of additional, I don't know, protocols or applications. Like, for example, MakerDAO, they have the DAI stablecoin, and they also have the Maker token, which is the governance token for this DAO. And we see a lot of examples of that. Now, in our case, Beam is kind of both the layer one and also DeFi ecosystem on top of it, which makes it a little bit, I would say, different from other projects. But yeah, like I understand where you're coming from, and it's not the first time this question was raised. But by the way, also during the creation of BeamX, there were a lot of opinions of whether we should do it at all, like whether we should create a separate token for the governance. We believe that we did, and let's see now that we are starting to get there in terms of like DeFi applications availability, the DAO like decision making. I hope that it will work out as we intended.
Thank you for the explainer.
Sure.
I mean, so many different DeFi projects. I mean, Dash, PVEX, Fyro. There are so many, and they're using their main coin. So my wish was we would use the Beam as the main coin, even for governance. So maybe lock a certain amount, you get certain voting power. Basically, vote with your money, with your wallet. But
I understand. It's like it's a valid approach. We thought it would be kind of more convenient to have a separate token for that. Let's see if we can make it.
Yeah. I hope so. It's a really good project. Thank you for the explanation.
Absolutely. Let me find my list of questions. Here it is. So there was a very good question that I would like to talk about the 1 minute block time and its meaning for the DeFi. So yeah, like in terms of the latency, obviously the longer the block time, and 1 minute, as we know, is on average. Sometimes you can wait for much longer for the block to arrive. It's less than ideal for trading, right? It slows it down. And one of the proposals that was kind of raised by whoever asked this question was to maybe in the future we can change the block time and make it less. So the answer is that we probably will not be able to do that for a few reasons. First of all, and I think the most important one, is that changing the block time will change the emission schedule. Like once again, like everything's theoretically possible, right? But our emission schedule, like Beam emission schedule, is I think one of the more important and strongest kind of covenants that we have, with anyone who participates in the project. The community, the early investors, the team, everybody is aligned with this. And changing the time of the block will just, change the schedule, speed it up, basically. The second is that even if we reduce it for, I don't know, 15 seconds, right? We still get to where Ethereum is today, which is not great. So what I think is a better idea is to use several possibilities to improve the trading speeds on the DeFi. So first is what we call high frequency transactions. The high frequency transactions is our kind of, in my opinion, very interesting implementation that changes the mempool from just being a set of transactions for the miner to mine into a tree where you can say, listen, I want my transaction to be after this one, or like, and if it's not like going in, it's not going in. But then I can set a set of conditions on my transaction and do that before the block is actually mined, right? So let's say I am using a DEX and I want to perform a trade, right? I want to exchange one asset for another. So I send the transaction and my wallet knows which other transactions were added to the pool, to the mempool before that. And he places my transaction automatically after the previous one in the branch. And then whoever comes next, within the same block time, right? It's using SBBS mechanism for broadcast, and it's very quick, so it's almost instantaneous. So you do see the situation changing much quicker than the block is mined. Now, obviously, the problem is that eventually, for any reason, like all of these transactions that create this branch in the tree can not be included in the block. But if they are included, you know exactly the order and what is the situation with the pool when you place those transactions. Now, this mechanism, if it is implemented correctly inside the applications, can really speed things up. Now, it's important to say that it's up to an application how to handle the situation. For example, as you probably know, in most decentralized exchanges today, you have some kind of tolerance for slippage. So you specify, listen, I'm sending my transaction at this price, but if the price changes within the specific tolerance margin, then I'm still okay with it. The reason you do that is because if you specify the exact price and somebody makes a trade just before you, the price will change and your transaction will fail. So you don't want that. On the other hand, you also don't want to open yourself up to exploitation, whether it's honest kind of situation that you just came before or after somebody who made a big trade, or if it's MEV and you're just being exploited. So there is always this kind of a limit. Now, the wallet should know, like in case of high frequency transactions, the application should know how to handle the situation where something changed, right? And if the application can make those decisions, then what happens is that you're basically trading much quicker. You can trade with, probably not algo trading speeds, but much faster make decisions for specific applications. Like it's not increasing the native TPS of the network, but it does allow you to trade quicker in certain applications. So this is the first kind of approach we can take. The second approach we can take is layer 2, because after all, Beam is completely compatible with any kind of rollups. either optimistic or zero knowledge or whatever. So we can always just create layer 2 solutions. And due to our flexibility in terms of the infrastructure and the things that we have, those solutions can be highly effective and implemented relatively easily. So just to sum up the answer to this question, we probably are not going to change, the block time. At least I personally would recommend going to other options first. And I do recommend thinking about either creating specific application, like if you want to trade quickly, let's say in the DEX, then making sure that the DEX supports high frequency transactions well, or adding layer 2 solutions, either optimistic rollups or zero knowledge rollups to speed things up. So that's that. Okay, another good question that we had is about wrapped Beam. So as you know, we have launched the bridges, and they allow you to take existing Ethereum assets and then wrap them on Beam. Right now, only 4 assets are supported, the native Ethereum, WBTC, DAI, and I believe USDT. But what about the wrapped Beam on Ethereum, right? So we call it reverse bridges, but basically it's the same exact mechanism, only implemented in reverse. You lock your Beam on Beam side, and then new tokens are minted on the Ethereum side. So we're working on that. It's coming. And even though it seems like the exact same mechanism in reverse, the reality is that the contracts are different. So it does require some amount of work to make happen. And yeah, we're working on that. It's in the works. It's in the process. Another great question. A lot of great questions today. Ranking system for the DEX pools and assets. We talked about that, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Once you have this kind of abundance of pools, and especially due to the fact that you can create several assets with the same name and different IDs, you can get this cluttered view of your DEX, and that was indeed the situation initially when we started testing it. So we talked about adding some mechanism for ranking pools, or kind of making sure that you only see the ones that you most often use. So what we did for now, and you can see this in the DEX that is currently deployed on .NET, we have added this just favorites button, so you can just add the pools that you are either using for trading or you are liquidity provider in. And you will just add them to your favorites, and this will be your default view. So whenever you go into the DEX, the first thing you will see is the pools that you are actually interacting with, and then all the rest will be kind of under this all section that you will have to click to see. I believe it's a good short kind of term, quick fix solution. And obviously, all the rest of the things that we have discussed, like rating pools, can be and should be, in my opinion, added later. So yeah, like we did the quick fix for now to make it usable, but it doesn't mean that we are not open for further improvements and suggestions. Okay. What else we have here? So we covered the web wallet, which is good. Okay, so I think most of the questions that were in my list are done. Let me see if we had. Somebody asked, like, can you add zero knowledge to Beam, because zero knowledge is all the buzz today. So first of all, just kind of a small technical quirk. We do have zero knowledge proofs in Beam. It's called bullet proofs, and they're used to prove that the value of each UTXO is possible. Is positive, right? So because in Nimblewimble, if you can create a negative value UTXO, you can break the system. So each UTXO has a proof added to it that its value is larger than 0 and smaller than some maximum amount, but without disclosing the value of the UTXO, obviously. And we're using this. It's called non-interactive zero knowledge range proof. The full name, and the bullet proofs is a specific technology specific algorithm invented by Benedict Bunz that we're using because it's more kind of efficient to calculate. So we do have a little bit of zero knowledge in in Beam, but it's not the zero knowledge that people mean today. People usually mean either snarks or starks or some other kind of more advanced technology in this regard. But yeah, with ZK layer 2, we can also play the ZK game. Okay. Do we have any more questions here? IPFS node question. What was the question on the IPFS, Kexpert? Can you type in just to make sure we talk about the same thing? By the way, if we have any more questions from the audience here, you're also welcome. And if not, Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, the NFT images right now are being served through IPFS. However, it's a internal IPFS network for now, so it's not connected to the global IPFS network, but it is on IPFS. It's not centralized; it's decentralized. But we can also change that at any moment and connect to the global IPFS as well. By the way, one of the things that we've been talking about way back is to connect into other storage systems like Arweave or Filecoin. So that's also a possibility going forward. Okay, so what I would like to do now is just to kind of recap the important part because people have been joining and just we've been talking about a lot of things. So in the coming weeks, we have a lot of work ahead of us as a community and as a DAO. So first of all, we will need to determine the price of minting token using the asset minter. That's relatively simple. We just pick a decent number that will be small enough to not to discourage people from creating tokens and big enough to prevent just spam and once again all of the proceeds go to the DAO. So that's good. The second more important part is the DAO vote that is going to be on chain for the allocation of the BeamX tokens for the Nephrite yield mining. And the third part, which is even more complicated, is the initial price of BeamX following the DEX launch. And as I said, we have kind of several ways to approach this, and maybe there are more. If you can think about kind of different ideas, you're more than welcome. The first one is to set the price and then initialize the pool with the liquidity to support it and to make sure that the price is set in a way that it can be supported for a relatively kind of sufficient period of time. The second idea that was kind of proposed in this regard is to create a price discovery model where people can lock BeamX and Beam independently for a set period of time, let's say 2 weeks. After which, when this period is over, the price is set using the ratio of locked Beam and BeamX tokens. And those who are provided this liquidity for the price discovery are rewarded with a increased yield mining program using the LP tokens that they get at the end. It's important to know that as a result of this process, you are either selling or buying BeamX tokens depending on which part you locked. So if I just lock Beam, in the end, I will get Beam and BeamX in the ratio of the determined price, and vice versa. If I only lock BeamX, I will basically sell them for Beam during this process at the price that will be determined at the end. So these are the two approaches currently on the table. There may be more. And yeah, obviously, everything I said will be listed in both the forum and the Twitter, so don't worry. But it just was important for me to kind of, get this discussion started and kick off this very important part of our roadmap. Actually, launching the things that we have built over the last year, and yeah, that's all I had to say. As you can see, We have about 12 minutes left, which means that that's kind of the time that Gus talks usually during the space. Now that we have determined that. Um, yeah. Okay. So if you don't have any additional questions, we will just finish early today, which is also good. And obviously, I will summarize everything that we've been talking about and publish it in the forum and in all other media that we access. Yeah, good. Okay, thank you very much for coming. We will really need your help in the coming weeks, and we will, really need a lot of engagement. And obviously, the votes are also coming, and there will be all important votes. Uh, Very interesting to see how this all kind of works out. And yeah, what, 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 what should I wait for? Maxim Flaxel wants to say something, I think, before I wrap up. Yes? No? Oh, okay. So I was I was reminded about two questions that I didn't address. The first one is about the messenger. Um, so yeah, so the messenger works on top of SBBS. It does not replace SBBS. SBBS is a mechanism that we use to communicate between wallets. It's used for many different things, for creating transactions, for publishing swap offers, and also for the messenger. So it works on top of SBBS for sure. We're going to talk about SBBS a lot next week when we talk about the hardware wallet integration, what it means for like how the addresses work. Um, and the second one is when staking. Yeah, so like the second that we have all of the applications like the DEX and the Nephrite like is out, then obviously we'll have you will have LP tokens and then you can stake them and get yeah BeamX rewards, which is why we need to vote for the allocation in the coming weeks. So it all connects, all part of the same story. Cool, great. Thank you very much for being here. And yeah, we'll see you next week. And we'll talk next week on the space, but we will definitely have a lot of discussions before that because this is, yeah, we're reaching the very important part of our journey together, and a lot of decisions need to be made. So we'll be in touch much sooner. Okay, have a great time of day, everyone. Thank you for being here, and see you next week. Bye bye.